Quantitative indicators and a scenario-based methodology. The baseline of this course to understand the data economy will be the European Data Market Study. This is a study conducted by IDC with support by other partners for the European Commission, which aims to analyze the evolution of the data economy so that we can assess whether a market for data sharing truly exists. Let me tell you a bit about the background of the study. The European Data Market Study has been carried out across multiple years, with key editions in 2014, 2017, 2021, and more recently a new one has started in 2024 that will allow us to analyze the data economy until 2026. The study is funded by the European Commission, as I said before, and therefore all the results, including the figures that I will present in this training, are fully open. Please don't hesitate to take advantage of them. In the slide that you can see, the reference to all the editions of the study, their main goals, duration and time frame coverage are included. The primary objective of the data market study is to provide a clear picture of the European data economy, analyzing the key players, trends, and potential growth scenarios. In particular, there are three major objectives for this study. First of all, measuring key indicators of the data economy. This means defining a series of indicators that are relevant to understand the data economy and quantifying them. This is very important. Second, analyzing data market stories so that a more qualitative approach can be taken into account to accompany the figures. And finally, providing a data economy visualization. Let's understand the conceptual framework behind the study. To understand the market for data sharing, we use a very structured approach that considers the following layers of work. Definition of a data market taxonomy, including type of data, type of stakeholders, type of skills, technologies, tools, applications, and services, the design of the value chain and the assessment of framework conditions, the definition of quantitative indicators with their scope, segmentation, and obviously their measurement, data collection methodologies, quality control and validation, production of data sets for the years under analysis, and as you can imagine, the assessment of progress towards major policy targets of the European Commission. You can find all this information in the reports that I mentioned before. In this training, you will get insights about some of those quantitative indicators, not all because we don't have time, but let me tell you exactly all that you can find in the study from a quantification point of view so that you can access a more complete picture if you wish so. We measure number of data professionals, number of data companies, both data providers and data consumers, revenues of data companies, the size of the data market, the size of the data economy, and the data skills gap as a result of the difference between data professionals needed by the market and the real availability of those. As we saw before, this was the first indicator. I'm sure that at this stage you have a high interest to see the numbers, but let's wait a bit more. We are talking about both measurements of data that already exist and predictions for the future so that companies, including your organization, can take decisions and formulate strategies accordingly. We all know that the future can look like quite different depending on the context. We've seen some astonishing news at the beginning of this training that will disrupt the AI landscape. Well, IDC carries out a sound analysis of these contextual conditions so that figures can be projected based on different potential scenarios that Europe and overall the global economy could go through. Our study considers in particular three forecast scenarios that depict distinct paths for the European data economy. These scenarios are, first, baseline scenario, defined by a steady growth trajectory based on current policies and market trends. High growth scenario, a future where data sharing is fully embraced, regulatory frameworks are optimized, and businesses capitalize on the data economy. And finally, low growth scenario, a restrictive environment where concerns about data privacy, lack of incentives, and regulatory constraints limit the potential of data sharing. Each of these scenarios is built on a set of assumptions regarding the adoption of emerging technologies such as AI, IoT, and cloud computing, the willingness of companies to engage in data sharing ecosystems, the role of government policies in fostering a trusted data market, the overall economic conditions affecting investments in data-driven innovation. In our slide, and of course, if you access the complete reports, you can see which specific assumptions have been considered per scenario for 2030. As a matter of example, for the baseline scenario, you can see that we have considered that between 20 and 35% of national recovery and resilience plans will be spent on ICT by 2025. The percentage slightly varies depending on the country. For the high-growth scenario, for example, we assume the success of policies like the Digital and Data Strategy or the 2030 Digital Compass, as well as positive outcomes of legislative initiatives such as with the Digital Markets Act. Finally, and again, just for illustration purposes, one of the assumptions made for the challenge scenario is that Europe will remain a fragmented market, and at global level, we will see strong disparities between countries with rich economies such as US or leading countries in Europe such as Germany and France that continue to invest in digital technologies and data innovation, and those countries with weaker economies less able to keep up with the new technologies race. In summary, the market for data sharing is not a given. It is shaped by multiple factors, including technological advances, business models, and regulatory frameworks. If Europe successfully addresses key challenges such as trust, interoperability, and monetization models, data sharing can become a significant driver of economic growth. However, without the right conditions, the potential of the data economy could remain underutilized. Follow me to the next training module to better understand some of these indicators of the data economy. Aren't you curious of what the size of the data market is and how many data professionals do we have in Europe?